newspapers is that none of them are independent. There are three national newspapers, the Irish Press, the Irish Independent and the Irish Times, and each one of them is tied more or less definitely to one particular point of view. The Irish Independent is more or less run by the Catholic Church and represents the Catholic Church's interests in Ireland. The Irish Press is run by the largest political party, Fianna Fáil, and naturally represents the government point of view. And the Irish Times, up till about 3 or 4 years ago, has always spoken for the hereditary Protestant ascendancy, which the Anglo-Irish ascendancy, I suppose you might say. They have tried in the last few years to veer in the direction of a sort of an independent newspaper containing comment of a liberal brand from all sections of opinion, but they haven't made a very good show of it, I think. And their so-called liberalism really amounts to publishing every now and then a couple of articles by well-known Catholics, and every now and then a sort of a couple of so-called liberal assessments of the Irish situation. But if you scratch them, you get very quickly back to the old idea, I think.
You really want to talk about the news reporting before you go on to comment, that every one of these papers does not give you the facts. All we're really interested in the news story is finding the facts. We can't get it from any one of those papers because their editorial opinion biases their coverage of any event.
There was this just recent case of the advertisers, the press and television all caught up in the one thing. There was a program which was where the producer was thrown off the program in television. This story was relayed again in the Irish Times on the Thursday. Yet, until last night, no paper had printed any letters regarding this fact. Now, private inquiries have made an absolute certainty that many, many letters were received by the press and by the Irish Times. The Irish Times particularly, which prides itself on its correspondence columns. There is a fact that Home Truths was a vicious acquiescence by the organisation of the state, Radio Television, which is trusted with disseminating the truth, the news, where it gave in to advertisers. But these people are scared.
And this brings you back to the other thing that we were discussing earlier, the same basic attitude that if you have a certain idea and there's another idea that doesn't mix entirely with it, it's better not to mix entirely with it. It's better to put up a wall, forget about the other man, and raise your own children in peace and in proper beliefs. Now this is nonsense. This is an anachronism in European terms.
Now we're at the stage where we in a pub can talk about these problems and air them. At the moment we can't talk about them in the university. We can't get the university itself to talk about them.
But more particularly, about 60% of the population is never going to be able to get to the university to talk about it.
How can you say that, though? I mean, this is a...
Well, I can say it because it's so true. Because it's a fact. A child born in Donegal has 1/3 the chance of a child born in Dublin of getting to university. And this is irrespective of the fact that they're ahead of a lot of poor children in Dublin.